Hello, everyone. My name is Anya, and today I want to talk to you about something very close to my heart: how to talk in English. English changed my life. It opened doors, made me new friends, and helped me dream bigger dreams. When I first started learning, I was scared. I didn't know many words, and my accent was different. But I never gave up. Step by step I learned, just like a baby, learning to walk. I fell many times, but I got up again. I know some of you feel the same. Maybe you are shy to speak, afraid to make mistakes, or worried that people will laugh. But remember, making mistakes is part of learning. If we don't try, we can never improve. And listen to this story about how to talk in English. Anya believed English lived in grammar books. It was a neat collection of rules, a puzzle to be solved with the right verb tense or preposition. She could read it, write it even, understand it when spoken slowly, but to talk in English, that was a different creature entirely. For her, speaking felt like trying to catch smoke with her bare hands. Her words, so perfect in her mind, would stumble on the trip to her, tongue tripping over her accent, and crumbling into a nervous, "I am sorry, my English is bad." This changed the day she met Mr. Evans, her new neighbor, a retired history teacher with kind eyes and a garden that was spilling over with unruly roses. He found her staring helplessly at a delivery notice she couldn't decipher. "Can I be of assistance?" he'd asked, his voice a warm, rumbling thing. Anya had frozen, her scripted responses vanishing. She simply pointed, her face flushing. Mr. Evans solved the problem in seconds, then smiled. "New to the language?" "Yes," Anya whispered. The word itself a small victory. "Marvelous," he boomed. "It's a dreadful, illogical language, perfectly fascinating. Tell me, Anya, how does one say hello in Russian?" "Privet," she said, surprised. "Privet," he repeated, butchering the pronunciation horribly. He laughed. "See? Terrible. Now you must help me. A language exchange. You help me with my dreadful Russian, I'll help you with your English. But we must have our lessons here," he said, gesturing to his cluttered kitchen. "And we must have tea." And so it began. The first lesson was a disaster. Anya arrived with a notebook and a pen. Mr. Evans pushed them aside. "Books later," he said, pouring tea. "First, tell me about this." He held up a biscuit. "It is a biscuit?" Anya said, confused. "No, no," he chuckled. "Describe it. What does it look like? What do you think it tastes like?" Anya hesitated. "It is small, golden. It has little holes." "Splendid. Small, golden, with little holes. Now guess the taste. Buttery? Sweet? A hypothesis. Now test it." She took a bite. "Was your hypothesis correct?" he asked, his eyes twinkling. "Yes," she laughed. "It is buttery, Anya, he said, leaning forward, you just spoke in full, perfect English sentences. You didn't think about the past. Participle of to be. You thought about a biscuit. That is how you talk. This became their way. Mr. Evans banished the grammar books from their lessons. Instead, they talked about things. He'd hold up a rusty gardening trowel and ask for its story. He'd hold up a rusty gardening trowel and ask for its story. Anya, grasping for words, would say, "It is old. It is tired. It has many secrets in the earth." He'd clap his hands. "Yes, it has dug up many secrets. You see, you are a poet." He taught her the music of English. "Listen to how people chatter," he said. "It's not just words. It's the little sounds, the ohs and ums and wells. It's the rhythm." He made her listen to songs, not to learn the lyrics, but to feel the beat of the sentences. He made her watch old films and repeat phrases not for their meaning, but for their melody. "Say it like you're Cary Grant. Now, say it like you're terribly bored." The biggest lesson came on a rainy Tuesday. Anya was trying to explain a concept from her job, and she got stuck on the word spreadsheet. Her mind went blank. The old Anya would have stopped, apologized, fallen silent, but Mr. Evans just waited, sipping his tea. Anya took a breath. "It is a digital table," she said, her hands drawing a grid in the air. "For numbers, you put information in boxes. A grid for data," Mr. Evans finished. "Precisely. You didn't find the word, but you built a bridge to your meaning. That is the most important skill of all. Talking isn't about knowing every word, it's about building bridges." Months passed. The unruly roses bloomed. One day, Anya was in a shop, and an elderly woman asked her for help finding something. Anya didn't know the word for the item. The old panic flickered for a second. Then she heard Mr. Evans's voice in her head. "Build a bridge. It is a thing for eggs," Anya said, making a circling motion with her hands. "You put the egg in and spin it for cooking." The woman's face lit up. "An egg. Whisk. Oh, yes, aisle 7. Anya didn't correct her pronunciation. She just smiled. "Yes, an egg whisk." She walked out of the shop feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the sun. She had built a bridge, and someone had crossed it. That was all talking was. That evening she went to Mr. Evans's house. He was in his garden. She didn't have a notebook. She didn't prepare a topic. She just said, "Your roses are absolutely magnificent this year. They're like a crowd at a party all trying to talk at once." Mr. Evans turned, his face softening into a proud smile. She hadn't stumbled. She hadn't apologized. She had simply spoken. "Why, thank you, my dear," he said. "I quite agree." And in that simple, ordinary exchange, Anya knew she had finally learned not just the rules of English, but its heart. She had learned how to talk